monthly board meeting of the Housing Authority of the Birmingham District. This meeting is called to order, and we want to start with a moment of silence. Amen. Now we will have a roll call of commissioners. Vice Chair Pantazis.
Present.
Commissioner Lewis.
Here.
Commissioner Barnes.
Present.
And Commissioner Thompson.
Present.
All right. And just let the note show those who are virtual versus in present. So we do have a quorum, so this meeting is officially called to order. But for our commissioners, we want to make a slight adjustment, not a slight, but it is a big adjustment to the agenda. What we would like to do is to go immediately into executive session. And we'll be going into executive session for the purposes of discussing personnel matters. And then after that, we will continue with the agenda as printed. Terrain, you can put the agenda up on the screen. Attorney Ford, are we in order to do such?
We are in order, and we would need a roll call vote to go into executive session. I will say that executive session will need to be conducted under the Code of Alabama 3625A7, the purpose of which is to discuss personnel matters. How long do you expect the executive session to last?
I would say no longer than 60 minutes.
Okay, it will last no longer than 60 minutes, and the board will reconvene after executive session, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so we can proceed.
And we have an intention that there will likely be a vote on the other side of executive session.
And so with that being said, we can proceed with the roll call vote into executive session now that it has been certified.
Great. Well, Commissioners, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing personnel matters.
Motion to go into executive session.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second that we go into executive session to discuss personnel matters. And again, we anticipate about 60 minutes with a vote on the other side. And I'll take a roll call vote. Vice Chair Pantazis.
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes,
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
Commissioner Lewis.
Yes.
All right, that motion passes. Y'all, we will go to another location, and we anticipate being back no later than 2:35. All right, thank y'all. Right, thank you for your patience, everybody. Now I will entertain a motion to come out of executive session.
Motion to come out of executive session.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second that we come out of executive session and go back into the regular meeting. I will call for a roll call vote of commissioners. Vice Chair Pantazis.
Aye.
Commissioner Barnes.
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson.
Aye.
Commissioner Lewis. Right, that item passes. And is there a vote? I will entertain a motion for, I will entertain a motion for what we discussed in executive session.
Yes, I would move a resolution to authorize the chairman of the HABD board to enter into an agreement with Ms. Dontrell Foster as president and CEO of the HABD. Oh, I second.
All right, it's been moved by Commissioner Thompson and seconded by Commissioner Barnes to pass a resolution authorizing the chairman to engage in a contract to make Ms. Dontrell Young Foster the permanent president, CEO, executive director of HABD. I'll also call for a roll call vote on that. Vice Chair Pantazis.
Aye.
Commissioner Barnes.
Yes, aye.
Commissioner Thompson.
Aye.
Commissioner Lewis.
Aye.
And aye for me as well. So that item passes.
Woo. Thank you. So much, Commissioner. Congratulations.
Okay.
And all of that is pursuant on us engaging in a contract and finalizing that contract. So I just wanted to make sure that that was clear. So that being said, President and CEO Young Foster, the floor is yours if you'd like to make any remarks or comments.
I just want to say thank you so very much. I want to thank the commissioners for your support, for your understanding, for your willingness, having the confidence in me to carry this agency forward. not only interim, but in a permanent capacity. I also want to say that I have a great team that's willing to roll their sleeves up with me, and I truly, truly appreciate them. We have work to do, and we're going to be very successful. So thank you all so much for everything.
Great, thank you. And then I'll just defer to my fellow colleagues if anybody has any comments. The floor is yours if you have any comments.
I just want to say congratulations. I feel like we're in great hands. Thank you so much for all you do.
Thank you.
Yes. I echo Commissioner Barnes' statement. I also just want to say, since I've come, I just haven't seen anyone more dedicated, who is so knowledgeable of all the ins and outs, cares about the residents, cares about the employees, the staff, everybody, and really has been a partner to us, and myself particularly coming into this space. So I'm really excited for your leadership and to see what you're going to do, and we certainly have your back.
I just want to thank you as well. And I think Commissioner Thompson hit the nail on the head when she said dedicated, because that's truly what I think about when I think about you and how dedicated you are to this agency, your fellow staff members and our residents. And you know, as a board member, it's really, it's just cool to see how much you invest yourself into this agency. So I look at you as a role model and a leader for all of us. And I certainly am excited to see what your future holds as the director.
Thank you. Thank you.
I just want to say congratulations, Ms. Foster. You're already doing the work. So now you got the title, and I echo on everything everybody else has said. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. And, you know, Ms. Foster, you and I spent a lot of time together, and I just really just appreciate you stepping up. It's the third time you stepped up to be interim, and I'm just really thankful that you said yes to be our permanent president CEO.
Thank you.
Looking forward to working with you going forward.
Thank you.
Great. All right, so with that, we will continue with the rest of the agenda as printed. So the next item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes from our regular board meeting in April, as well as our special board meeting on June 7th.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second that we accept the board minutes from April, as well as the special board meeting from June. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that item passes. President Foster, any old business?
No business.
Any old business come before the board? New business?
Probably not as exciting as the rest of the news of the day, but I think one thing we've talked about in the past is our interaction with the World Games. And I think this is probably our last meeting before they come to town. Do we kind of have any plans to help our residents and others engage with everybody that's coming in town for it? Or is that kind of been on the agenda for us yet?
What we've done thus far, we did a beautification day in collaboration with all the USFL, the World Games, and some community faith-based organizations. And so what we're doing now is trying to put together some volunteer work for our residents to assist during the World Games. And we're having meetings on them regularly to identify what those are. We'll be coming before the board through email since it's our last meeting.
Great. Any other new business? All right, if not, now we have the president and CEO's report.
Got to change that language.
Sorry,
So we got to change that language on the slide.
we do.
Yeah, from interim, yeah.
So good afternoon, everyone. I present to you the President CEO's report. HABD was awarded $1.5 million for the Youth Build Grant on May 2nd, 2022 for a 3-year and 4-month duration. The Youth Build is a community-based pre-apprenticeship program that provides job training and education opportunities for at-risk youth ages 16 to 24 who have previously dropped out of high school. HABD is currently in preparation of hiring the staff for this program, and we're also completing orientation sessions with the Youth Build team to get us started. The contract between the Housing Authority and Birmingham Police Department was approved for above baseline services and establishing a community safety partnership to increase and enhance the safety, security, and welfare of our HABD residents. The City Council approved this 2-year contract on May 31st, 2022. HABD staff and residents attended the Public Housing Authorities Directors Association, which is FADA, annual conference, and an exhibition held in San Antonio, Texas, May 19th through 22nd. The conference provided education and information on public housing operations, HUD programs, and federal legislation impacting public housing authorities. Mr. Embry and Mr. Jones attended the professional development classes on the executive housing management and public relations. Additionally, once he got on site, Mr. Embry was approached to be on the panel to discuss finding and keeping talent during the great reshuffle, which during this panel discussion, he shared HAB's experience conducting reorganization in the midst of unprecedented changes in the employment market. I wasn't there, but I heard he did an exceptional job. Thank you, Embry. HABD was awarded, well, first I want to say that $3.2 billion of fiscal year 2022 capital fund program grants were awarded to over 2,800 public housing authorities. HABD was awarded $16 million in those funds, and we're working on the 5-year plan to allocate those funds. A report will be provided to the board in the upcoming months, indicating what that 5-year plan looks like. HABD awarded $710,748.91 of funds to approximately 387 HABD residents. These funds were through the city ERA funds. We're currently working on the final phase, which has about $120,000 remaining in that balance, and we have to September to complete that. HABD would like to thank all of the partners and staff participating in the Region 4 administrator visit to the Campus of Hope. HUD Region 4 Administrator Jose Alvarez, Deputy Regional Administrator Tiffany Cobb, HUD Alabama Field Office Director Kenneth E. Free, and HUD Alabama Senior Management Analyst Hollis Worms were present. This visit included 3 separate roundtable discussions with HABD partners, the City of Birmingham, and Woodline Foundation. I want to thank our chairman, Anthony C. Hood, for the support during all of these events. And I also want to thank Mr. Matthews. He was the head lead on that initiative, so thank you so very much. The Birmingham City Schools Dropout Recovery Program had over 50 students to graduate. A number of the students were based on the dropout recovery classes in the Campus of Hope, located at Marsh Village. HABD would like to congratulate the graduates and wish them success in their plans. Our efforts will continue with those graduates by providing education and job opportunity resources. The USFL, US United, Fox Sports, City of Birmingham, Birmingham City Police, and Guiding Light Church had a neighborhood cleanup beautification day, Saturday, June 4th, at our Ilton Village site. Staff and residents helped plant flowers and cleaned up the site. It was a great initiative, and HABD would like to thank everyone for their efforts on that. HABD is excited to announce the return of the in-person HABD Summer Camp, Summer Youth Employment Program. Because the pandemic, HABD had to go on an alternative virtual program for the traditional summer SYEP initiative for the past 2 years. The YEP is for ages 14 and 18, and they receive a $500 stipend during this program. The other side of it is the summer camp. The summer camp will begin Tuesday, June 21st, and will run through July 22nd with trips, games, STEM programs, and fellowship plans for our young clients, age 7 through 13 of age, with summer lunches being provided daily for the children in the community. So it's a 2-part. We have the Summer Youth Employment Program, which started June 13th, and we have the Summer Youth Program for the kids, which will start June 21st. Our resident-owned business training occurred June 7th through the 10th to provide residents with information on how to establish their own business. It was an on-site training conducted by Motivation, Inc. This was a 2-year training, continuation of last year's discussion of construction and non-construction opportunities. It provided information from writing a business plan to project management. I heard it was a great success. HABD attended the National Community Reinvestment Coalition, NCRC, Just Economy Conference. NCRC allows organizations to become part of a coalition that advocates for economic fairness for all individuals. There was an array of community investment organizations, community development corporations, local and state government officials, and financial institutions to champion fairness in banking, housing, and business development from across the nation. Our very own Mayor Randall Wolfen spoke at several sessions to discuss building affordable home ownership and about scale and sector leaders on equitable recovery. Birmingham represented very well. I thank, again, Chairman Anthony C. Hood for his presence, which he held 2 hats during that time, and also Jacqueline Frentz for her presence as well. We had a ribbon cutting schedule for this month for the Village at Tennisville. We have to postpone that due to other commitments and a scheduled audit that's on site. So a July date will be provided following the World Games. The Office of Constituents of Concerns received approximately 70 concerns. 48 concerns were Section 8 and 22 concerns were for housing operations. A completion rate of 100% was achieved during that period. As I get to the close of my report, I want to welcome a new member to our team. His name is Larry Williams. He's our new Senior Director of Housing Operations and Client Services. He comes to HABD with a wealth of knowledge and PHA experience. He served as an Executive Director, Commissioner, and recently the Senior VP of Property Management at the District of Columbia Housing Authority. And he's a nationally recognized leader. We want to welcome Mr. Williams to the team. He's not able to be present because he had to go back and finish his relocation, but I think he is on Zoom. If you want to just wave, introduce him, so he can see your face.
I am here. Thank you for the invite. I look forward to continuing the work on behalf of the Housing Authority of the Birmingham District, and congratulations, Ms. Foster.
Thank you, Ms. Williams.
Thank you, Ms. Williams.
My final statement is the Housing Authority of Birmingham District Office will be closed Monday, June 20th in observance of Juneteenth. That completes my report.
All right, thank you. Any questions for President Foster? All right, hearing none, we will go to financial services.
Thank you, Chairman Hood. Good afternoon, Commissioners. President Foster, and I had it president in my notes originally, okay? So the interim didn't drop with me some time ago. President Foster, elected officials, HABD staff, and most importantly, our beloved residents of HABD. Hope all of us are staying cool and hydrated during this heat wave the last week. Today, I'm going to cover budget to actual revenues and expenses for the months of February and March 2022. And then next month, I'll cover April through June, and this will catch us up for the end of the fiscal year and make sure that we're ready for end of year reporting. Let's look at February financials. Here. So revenues for February 2022 were 2.64 million against a budget of 3,095,000 for a budget variance of $447,905. Now, February had expenses of 1.8 million versus a budget of 3.0 million. And that was a pretty significant variance between expenses from February and what was budgeted for the month to the tune of 1.15 million. So I went back to two previous years of the same quarter to try to make some rationale up to explain that. And it seems that, well, it didn't seem, and actually the past 2 years, January and February's expenditures were right around this amount. So it kind of makes a good sense when you're using analytics to try to see if things match from year to year to get an understanding of if that's truly an anomaly or if that is actually how expenditures run during that quarter of the year. And so based on the comparison, that's pretty status quo for what expenses have been in January and February for the past 2 years. Okay, that's an overall summary of February's revenue and expenditures. I apologize for the screenshot here. It was not like that when we worked in the software. Let's move forward here. All right, so we're reporting differently to make sure that everything is in PowerPoint as one screen and not have to move to different software packages. So of the February expenses, what we felt relevant or significant variance to speak about was actually our utilities, from our utilities line. And so we're looking at our 22 budget amount of 139,000 for water budgeted. The expenditures were only 31,626. So upon our investigation, we went back to see what actually the 31,000 consisted of. And we learned that in this line item, we have all bills received from Birmingham Water Works Board at that month to be able to be paid, but they were not actually February bills. That was the amount paid that month, but when we went back and researched it, there were bills from back as far as January, February that were paid in that month. BWWB has been sending estimated bills in some cases. And so then when the actual bill catches up, we've actually experienced credits in some of those line items. But the good thing about all of our utilities, at the end of the day, HUD gives us a utility subsidy. So we actually get all those dollars back. So although we spend them on behalf of our residents in the public housing, our annual HUD utility subsidy reimburses us to about 95, 96% of our utility expenditures. On top of that, we've included and joined into an environmental performance contract that allowed us to do a lot of infrastructure improvements to the tune of $18 million under the EPC contract that allowed us to upgrade a lot of sites, HVAC and things like that to help us get efficiencies in the utilities. And that difference between our savings and our utility subsidy is what we call an add-on. And so the more we decrease our bills, the bigger the gap is between, excuse me, subsidy and savings. And so we can possibly get some of that back as well. So we do have some more research to do in that line item to kind of figure out the timing of bills and the payment of bills. But at the end of the day, the good news is these are not expenditures that are going out and not coming back. They're all actually coming back to the tune of 95% of all utilities across the board from a HUD subsidy. Any questions on that explanation? Comments?
I think I've asked something like this in the past, but does the utility subsidy also include internet?
This is just strictly water, gas, electric.
Okay.
Yes. Now, that's something that I'm sure we need to address, but in this particular subsidy is just those three utilities.
Yes, just to add to that, HUD would not allow us to add, broadband to those.
Okay.
Mhm. That's why we're really seeking grant funds to cover those expenses.
Sure.
Mhm.
Any other questions on the significant items for February? Okay, let's move on to March. All right, March is a little more consistent. You can follow here, it's not lined up as it was originally put in the system. But so we've got actual revenues of $3,046,000 versus a budget of $3,095,000. So we're pretty good on that. We're 98% of what we projected for revenues for the month of March. Very small variance of 48,000. Expenditures, we expended 2.7 versus a budgeted expenditure of 3.04. Again, pretty close on this month's budget and actual. And so this was pretty good and pretty consistent with the past 2 years, third quarter ending expenditure amounts as well. So in sum, March seems to be where we level out on our expenditures. And it seems like we catch up from January and February where we're not expending as much based on the 2-year trend that was looked at to cover this. Any questions on the overall budget versus actual for March? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on down to significant item in budget to actual variances for March. So during our financial services meeting, we kind of had an item, and let me preface everything before I move on. These budget items were from 2022, of course. And so our upcoming 23 budget is going to reclass a lot of this stuff to the right area. Number one, I hate anything in other miscellaneous. All it does is ask you, what is it? So everything should have a place in any balance sheet, any financial statement. There's a purpose for what you're spending it for, and it should have a title and an outlined place to go. It says that will be implemented in the 2023 budget, that we won't have any more other categories or miscellaneous or anything like that that we have to try to dig into and drill into to understand what it is. So with that, these other general expenses actually are subsidy payments to Park Place 1 and 2, catching up from January through April, and also payment subsidies for Glenbrook. And we actually have a line on this statement that says mixed income subsidies. So this will be a reclass down to that line, and this other general expense will go away. And again, we won't have these type of catch-all accounts going forward. Any questions on the other general expense variance for March? Okay, there being none, let's continue on. So let's do charge-offs here. All right, so we had rent charge-offs for the month of April. We're gonna do April and May charge-offs. We didn't have a May meeting, so we're gonna catch up these 2 months right now. Next month we'll be on schedule again. So as you can see, and don't look at the security deposit column, this should be over, everything should be over to the left one. So rent charge-offs for April are $23,167. Okay, and total maintenance and legal, $5,184. For total charge-off for April, I'm sorry, let me back up. Maintenance and legal, and then the security deposits are $825. So you can take the $23,167, add $5,184, subtract the $825 in security deposits, and the charge-off for April will be $27,626.51. You want to follow that? Okay. Then now let's go to May. We'll do the same thing here. Rent charge-offs started at $17,383 with maintenance and legal charges added to that of $4,071. And then we had security deposit surrendering of $1,300 for a total charge-off for May of $20,155. For a total charge off of $47,681.66 for combined for the months of April and May. Okay. So we're not able to see the MIS collections that we get from municipal interception services who pull tax returns from the individuals who have bad debts with us. So we're not able to see that bottom line there. Let's see. So I can provide that number because I don't have a copy of this with me, but we have MIS interception collections that recoup numbers from monies from charge-offs that we reduce the total charge-offs by. I don't know what happened to this, but it was not this way when I prepared it in the Google Drive. Any questions about charge-offs?
Questions?
Just a quick question.
Yes.
Is the collections including this number?
No, that's at the bottom. Since this top part looks like it's skewed, we're not able to see that part. So there are going to be reductions to the 47,000.
Okay. I'm talking about your final number, your final charge-off numbers I'm speaking about.
Yes, this
Okay.
is not it. It has to be reduced by the collection from MIS services.
Okay.
Are those numbers included in the board packet though?
Yes, on the charge-off sheet, yes.
Okay. So that'll be the number. What you're asking for us to prove today is based on what's in the
Yeah, I
board
need
packet.
that number. Okay, apologies. So here are the numbers here. This one is in the right order. So we have total charge-offs of $47,881.40. The minus MIS calculations of 17,567.12 for a net charge off of 30,114.54.
That's for April and May combined.
Yes.
So I just want to be clear on the resolution that we're going to be voting on.
Question?
I just want to be clear on the requested board action and what we'll actually be voting on.
To write off, charge off the amount.
Jones, please give us the amount for each month and then your total amount.
The monthly amount?
The April amount, the May amount.
Oh, sure. Okay. Okay, again, charge offs for April netted to 27,504.65, 26.51. And then charge offs for May netted 20,155.15 for a total of 47,681.66. Minus MIS collections of 17,567.12. For a net charge off amount of $30,114.54.
We can probably just vote on it as April and May combined for 30,000.
I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the April and May charge offs as listed in the board packet.
It's been moved and properly second that we approve the charge offs for April and May 2022 as calculated in our board packet. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, that item carries.
If there are no more questions, then that concludes the financial presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Jones.
Thank you.
All right, President Foster, we now have Department of Rental Assistance.
Ms. Candy Drake.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Today I have one request for board action approval, which is approval to revise the Housing Choice Voucher Administrative Plan, also known as the Section 8 Administrative Plan. We have been analyzing and studying reasons why our program participants, and most importantly, our applicants, are not successful in finding housing to participate on our HCV program. One of the reasons I hear most, among a lot of others, is that they don't have enough time to search for housing. As a result, I am requesting to change the voucher search time from 60 days initially to 90 days. Following are pages that reflect this change throughout the administrative plan, and with your permission, I'll go over those now. So the first one is found on one of the pages of our administrative plan. We are requesting to update the search time from 60 days to 90 days. There are also some locations within a document where we also needed to clean up and correct some verbiage from lease to tenancy. Again, you will see on the next page, we change, or we're requesting to change 60 days to 90 days. And again, this is as it relates to the voucher search time. And also on that page, you will see again that I'm requesting to change the word or verbiage from lease to tenancy. Here, under the subject heading PHA error, the last sentence reads inaccurate, and we just need to clean it up so it can read correctly. Right now, it states if the family decides to remain in the same unit and it is not overcrowded, the payment standard will be corrected to the lower of the new voucher size or the actual unit size effective the first day of the month after the 60-day voucher expiration date. I'm requesting to cross after the word effective out, and we'll add on the reexamination date. So for example, it will read, if the family decides to remain in the same unit and it is not overcrowded, the payment standard will be corrected to the lower of the new voucher size or the actual unit size effective on the reexamination date. The prior verbiage makes it seem like the client is moving. Well, we just said in the previous statement that they're going to remain in the unit. So that's just kind of cleaning that up. Also, when we updated our interim change policy a few months ago, we did not take into consideration those that are on the FSS program. So we need to add a statement that will allow those families to report increased income prior to their annual reexamination if they so choose. And the reason being is because families on our FSS program, as their income increases, it is actually a positive reflection for them because those increased funds go to their escrow account balances. And that's all that I'm requesting. One more request to again update the 60 days to 90 days. And that is my request today. It's just to revise the Section 8 administrative plan to reflect accordingly. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Drake. Commissioners, any questions for Ms. Drake?
No, I just appreciate us being able. I said, no, I just appreciate us being able to provide a solution.
Yes, ma'am.
This is great.
Thank you.
If there are no questions, I entertain a motion to make the requested changes to the Section 8 administrative plan.
So move.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second that we make the requested revisions to the Section 8 administrative plan effective immediately. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that item passes. Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Drake.
you, commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Real estate development.
Cindy Herrera, she's on Zoom.
Is there a copy of the report that someone can pull up on the PowerPoint? So I can go through it. If not, was it?
I'm sorry, Cindy, there's some feedback we're receiving. We're trying to see where it's coming from.
Okay. There we go. Excellent. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, commissioners. I'm just going to real quickly kind of go through where we are with our developers that we had selected a few months ago. We continue in negotiations. We are working on a template for the master development agreement. And we've worked with legal on that. Legal is trying to have a draft finalized this week that we would be able to issue to the developers. In the meantime, we've been meeting with developers on an ongoing basis to move forward. And I'm just looking at this being the April report. There's actually an updated June report. So I'm going to speak from that. Hopefully you all received it. So I'm just going to kind of give you an update. With Paces and Soho, they're the developers that have been assigned Cooper Green and Morton Simpson. They're actually beginning with Cooper Green, which we anticipate will be a substantial rehab. They're currently have some third-party reports that are underway, environmental reports and some other assessments, appraisals, and those types of things so that we can move forward in finalizing. They've done a pro forma. And it looks pretty good. We would anticipate it would be financed with bonds and 4% tax credits. Rule and Integral are the developers that will be working on Tom Brown and Ralph Kimbrough. Tom Brown is where they're beginning. So they've begun work on how they would phase the Tom Brown project. And we're just in some preliminary discussions on what that might look like. And we'll be bringing that back over the next couple of months as they move forward a little bit more on that. Zimmerman Developers was selected by the city to redevelop the Ensley project, and we will be transferring units from Collegeville to that project. They're currently finishing the demolition over at that site, and will be transferring units, and they're working on preliminary financial commitments. Gorman and company will be doing Marks Village. That will also be a substantial rehab. What we're doing currently is we're working with legal on a use agreement. We have a lead-based paint removal grant. And there's also some significant roof repairs that need to be done at Marks Village that cannot wait. And so we're working on a use agreement to enter into with Gorman, along with the development agreement that will allow them to take the lead in helping us get those items done. Benoit was selected for Ellington Village. Currently, they're very focused on the Southtown project, so we haven't moved forward with anything on Ellington yet. We're going to begin that in the next couple of months. Hallmark and DuVernay Brooks are doing North Birmingham. Again, we're just beginning conversations with them. Smithfield, we have begun meetings with the city on the Choice Neighborhood Implementation Grant. This was the grant we did not receive previously, but we had a very good debriefing from HUD, who shared with us what some of the weaknesses were in the grant. And so we're working with the city and with Brinshaw to be able to bring some greater strengths to the application. And we want to be prepared for when HUD issues the implementation grant, so we can take advantage of that and be able to secure that grant this time successfully. Park Development is working on Roosevelt City. They've begun to do some preliminary pro forma, and we're talking about the plans for that particular project. And then finally, Harris Homes is HDVS in Carlson, and we are still pending some preliminary discussions on that one. We began discussions with the developer, but there's no plans in place yet. As I mentioned, the Choice Neighborhood Grant, we're want to be ready for that when HUD comes out this time. And so we're working on that expeditiously. Southtown Court redevelopment, we're making significant progress. The overall demolition is about 73% complete as of this month. The developer completed a lot of the current work, and Block D is pretty well completed with soil erosion control in place. There's been some impact of the rain weather events, but they've continued to do that. I've concluded some photos in the picture of where we are with or some photos in the report. So to kind of just give you an idea of where we are with the various blocks. The demolition work on B and C, there's still buildings and foundations to be removed in blocks B and C. So those are not near as far along as block D, because we made that a priority. We have some granite curbs at the property that we had agreed with the State Historic Preservation Office that those would be stored, and we've coordinated with the city. The contractor will be moving forward to be able to remove those, and the city is going to store those. We had talked previously about the situation with the unsuitable soils on the site. Our master development agreement basically requires us to complete grading and preparation of the site and the infrastructure work to the extent necessary or desirable for commencement of the vertical development phase. And so what we've done is we've gone back and we've worked with the civil engineers, which is Shoal Engineering and Building and Earth Sciences, to come up with a solution for the unsuitable soils. Basically, the situation is that the soils are composed of a fatty clay soil. And so they cannot be used to do backfill where the buildings and foundations are being removed. Normally, we would cut the soils and use that as engineered fill, but the geotechnical studies came back and said that that would not work. They cannot be used as that fill, that they're unsuitable for that purpose. That's what they're referencing when they reference unsuitable soils. We asked them to go back and look at various options. And basically they came back and said that the option would be to chemically treat those soils. But the expense and the effort would make it cost prohibitive compared with just removing the soils and importing suitable soils. So at this point, what we've done is we've gone back and asked the current contractor to take a look at what it would cost for him to be able to remove the additional unsuitable soils. And then based on those costs and the additional analysis of the civils, we will come back later with kind of a recommendation on whether it makes sense to proceed with the current contractor through a change order, or if it would be more cost effective to be able to bid this out as a separate contract. So we're doing that analysis in conjunction with the civil engineers at this point in time. As far as the redevelopment, good news is that Alabama Housing Finance did exchange the tax credits for the Breck family development. They exchanged them for 22 credits, which then gives them time to move the project forward. They also increased the credits somewhat to help address the additional construction cost and the increased interest rates that we're all struggling with right now. So they've been able to move the project forward. They're looking at a closing now in October with the construction completion in December of 23. The Benoit Group did submit their bond and 4% credit application to Alabama Housing Finance as well. The finance agency has indicated that they are going to be securing hopefully additional bond allocation. So we're optimistic that that will get approved. They are looking at closing also hopefully by year end with construction completion in 2024. And then if you all remember back a few months ago, we talked about this little parcel of land off of 9th Avenue that, off of 26th Street, that basically what we found is actually still owned by ALDOT. And we've been working with them for months to get that released. We finally got the paperwork that we can get that released. It is going to cost $8,000 because it was paid for with federal transportation money and they can't just give it to us. But we hope to have this resolved within the next 60 days. And on the report, the June report, I don't know if you got a copy of it or not, but there is a detailed letter from Scholl Engineering that goes into more detail about the unsuitable soils that I wanted the board to be aware of. In more detail, kind of what some of the issues are there, because that is going to result in additional costs to the authority. Any questions?
Any questions, commissioners?
I've got a couple of quick ones. I appreciate the report, and it's good to see all of where things are headed. As far as just backing up to the top, it looks like, well, I guess the page you're on, but the selection of the developers and assignments to sites, what was the process for basically getting to where we are now?
We issued a comprehensive solicitation and we had 11 responses that we received. We conducted interviews. There was an evaluation committee that was put together. The evaluation committee scored each of the solicitations. We then had interviews with the various developers to negotiate which sites, because many of them applied, for example, for the same site. So then we went back with alternate sites to discuss with each of them. And we did bring this to the board, and the board did approve the selection of these developers. I want to say probably about 4 or 5 months ago now. And so that was the process that we went through. It was an open public solicitation, which had phenomenal response. These are some of the strongest affordable housing developers in the Southeast and across the country as well. So they're very good developers that have worked with many housing authorities and many of the HUD programs across the country.
And apologies for my lack of memory here. Is this part of the RFQ process and that we went through earlier? Or is that a separate?
Yes, it is. It was a request for qualifications from developers.
Okay. And then so you guys, so the actual matching to each facility or location, that was done after all of the RFQs were received and selected?
Yes, we received selections. When the developers submitted their qualification statement, we asked them to give us conceptual plans, and we gave them the option for like 3 or 4 different projects that they could give us a conceptual plan on. And so we then, like I say, went back to the developers based on, we ranked them in the highest scoring to the lowest scoring. There were a couple that we didn't select at all, because they didn't score high enough. And then the ones who were in the competitive scoring range, we went back to them and negotiated the various projects because they didn't all get, several of them, applied for the same projects. And so then we went back and negotiated with each developer based on their scoring as to which projects they were interested in.
So on this list here, is there any priority as far as, this one needs to happen first for various reasons and this one second, or is it all kind of proceeding simultaneously because there's different people involved?
We're working simultaneously. Some developers move at a faster pace. Some of the projects that are going to be quicker to get over the finish line to a closing. And so as we progress, I'll be providing a different format of a report that will show kind of the timing for each of the projects. Obviously, if the bond allocation was unlimited and things were aligned, we could do a lot more faster. But this is, we're looking at this being done over a period of years. Some of these projects will be multi-phased. So as we go forward with the developers and refine more exactly how each project's going to be carried out, then we will come back with more specific timelines.
And kind of the last part of this is there any sort of, 10-year, 15-year sort of development plan that's being used to unite the way that we're, proceeding in redevelopment here, that isn't just, this site needs the XYZ at this time. It's a good fit for this program. Let's move.
Yeah, it's actually what we had tagged as the Thrive 35 plan. So the goal is actually to be able to touch the entire portfolio and either reposition the property through a demolition and a rebuild or a substantial rehab, depending on what the ultimate ability is of the property and the current conditions. A couple of the properties have environmental concerns that we really wouldn't want to rebuild on that particular site. So those will be ones we'll be transferring to other locations. But basically we're looking at by 2035, so that's kind of the comprehensive plan in which we'd like to have the entire real estate portfolio repositioned, meaning every property has been either substantially rehabbed or it's been redeveloped. Or we've developed new locations where we've transferred some of the assistance to other locations that are not currently housing authority locations.
But it's also seen as part of that Thrive 35. We identify what our top 6 or what do we call them? Big 6 or something like
The
that?
big 6, yeah, we called them the big 6, which is Morton Simpson, Tom Brown, Collegeville, Marks Village, Ellington, and Smithfield. Those were the big 6 that we originally identified as the priority projects. Chairman, that's correct.
And do we have the 535 plan? Is it up on the website or anything?
No, we have not provided publicly, because what we want to do is bring this plan to the board. Now, we're going to schedule a board session as relates to real estate, share it with the board before we start any actions. And then we will begin reaching out to the residents, having resident meetings, and then start placing those things on the website for public interest, because if we move it to the public first, to draw questions that we're really not prepared for at this time.
And are we evaluating the concept of, like, for lack of better phrasing on it, but like land swaps with the city or, various entities that, if we're, say, for the environmental concerns you highlighted, I think that's a really important issue for our residents, that we don't redevelop a site that, is uninhabitable based on the soil and the air. Are we looking at ways to potentially leverage some of those connections in the city so that we can?
Yes, we have everything on the table. And we had developers bring us other sites. So some of these developers have other sites that are sites that they're able to be able to get control of. The Ensley site, for example, with Zimmerman, that's a city site that city selected Zimmerman. And then we piggybacked on that by being able to translate and transfer some of the units over to that site eventually. And so, yes, we're trying to piggyback with, as much as we can. We are working with the city on several of the projects. The Smithfield, for example, is a great partnership where we'll be working hand in hand with the city. So we'll be doing that on every opportunity that we can find to identify other sites. We also have are in the process of completing an inventory of vacant land that the authority owns. We have some significant other parcels that are owned by the housing authority.
And we're looking at those as well to fit those into the overall plan as far as moving units to those sites as well.
Well, one, I just want to thank you for all the info. Two, this is one of the things that as a commissioner you get asked about a lot, and a lot of our external partners want to know how can they help, or how, where are we headed with some of these things? And, this is good, but I really would like to see some more robust kind of ways that we can market ourselves and our plans and what we're doing, so that we can be helpful in that way. Because this is good, but I think we can do a lot more, and I'd really like to see some more top-down stuff. And it sounds like 535 plans.
Yeah, we have a long way to go to continue to do this, and we hope to, like Ms. Foster said, we hope to, have a workshop with the board, and then out of that will come a much more robust plan with more details as we move forward. So thank you.
And I just want to add, inclusive to that, I mentioned in my report, we received $16 million for capital fund. So we're going to do capital improvements for some of those properties that are, further down the line, years down, we can't do development projects on. So that'll be inclusive too, but we'll share with the board when we have our work session.
Any other questions, commissioners, on the real estate report?
I got one more, believe it or not. On the soil issue, who was responsible for testing the soil before we began demo and get these bids?
I was not around at that time, and according to what the professional service folks are telling us, the geotech reports were not finalized prior to the initial bidding. And so the fatty clay was not really identified until they started the demolition. And at that point is when the civil engineer, indicated. And the report from Shoal, if we can make sure the commissioners get that, it goes into a little bit more detail and it'll answer those questions a little bit better.
So Cindy, you broke up a little bit in the beginning, so I just asked Ms. Hilliard to elaborate more on that question.
Okay, you all should receive that in the packet. I confirmed that with Ms. Bibbs, and that gives a further detail on what happened first.
This is the Shoal report?
Yes.
Okay.
And what Cindy was mentioning was it wasn't finalized. All of the reports weren't finalized when we went out for bid. So they just come back to finalize what they did find out there as far as the soil.
Okay. I guess I'm just trying to figure out how we can improve that process moving forward, because getting a, close to $150,000 change order for something that I would think would be accessible prior to going out for bid. Is that something that, was not included in our bid packet that they should have done? Or is that something on our end that we should do a little better job of making sure it's done that's foreseeable?
I think that's a little bit of both. I know that right now Commissioner Pantazis, our attorneys, our real estate attorneys are working on a template, a master development template, using this case in point in our previous redeveloped sites as a way to look at agreements moving forward. So I think it would be good as we do a more robust plan to incorporate that in our real estate committee meetings where we are with that draft.
That's great.
Anything else? Right. Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, now we are at the place on our agenda where we hear from people wanting to speak before the Board of Commissioners. We had a sign-up sheet up at the front. We have two people who have indicated they like to speak to us. The first one is Gwendolyn. And Gwendolyn, if you come up, we love to hear from you. And after Gwendolyn be John P. Moore. Terrain, you can take the
How are you?
PowerPoint down.
Oh,
You
well,
can take the PowerPoint down.
what's been going on with me in Smithfield? I done had
Ms.
to
Gwendolyn, pull the
change-
microphone down so people on the Zoom can hear you.
I had had to change my locks 6 times. And it don't make any sense to me. Every time I change my locks, they're giving folks keys to my house. Coming in through my windows. I'm asleep at night. coming in through my window. They done broke the windows in my bedroom. They done set a bomb on 4th of July. I called the police. God woke me up. I was asleep in my bedroom. And God woke me up. He said, wake up. A loud voice come in my ear. And he said, look outside. That bomb was right there. I called the police. He said, ma'am, if this would have went off, it'd have killed you instantly. And they done shot through my window in the living room. Me and my son was in there New Year's? Yeah. They was shooting, and the police said, this is not no just random, just, shooting up in the air. They came to my railing and stood there and shot in the window. So he said, ma'am, somebody's trying to get rid of you. And I've been having problems with the man next door. He stayed at 220 apartment 518, selling drugs since I've been there. I'm looking at him every day. I call the police, ain't nothing been done. He set the house apart. He set it afire. So, but anyway, so Miss Leonard said he had moved. No, 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, he's around there kicking the tables or something around there. Got boys around there selling drugs. This is going on all the time. I'm scared to even live there. I just left. I pay the rent. I'm really just, I done got tired. I'm saved, sanctified, filled with the Holy Ghost. I've been on rest ever since I've been. I done asked for transfer. I hadn't got it. I can't stay like this here. I'm a heart patient. I have heart failure. I take a lot of medicine at night. They done come in, so went in my purse. I've got my purse right there by me. And within my purse, got my marriage license. They got my social security card. They got my ID. So I called Social Security and let them know, because I get Social Security. And they said, Ms. Nolly, this has got to stop here. This. And so they put a hold on it because they're trying to go online or something. They done took all kind of money.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So, I just don't even stay there at night. I'm just scared for my life.
Yes, ma'am.
I can't stay there.
So President Foster, I don't know if we've engaged with Ms. Gwendolyn before or not, but I know that, we'll make sure that we have Ms. Gwendolyn's contact information, and we'll definitely follow up on this, right?
Yes, we've been working with Ms. Nolly for some time now, even with Mr. Matthews, Mr. Foreman, and the site management team has been working with Ms. Nolly on her concerns.
Great.
Ain't nothing been done though. I've been there a good little while. Ain't nothing been done. The same cycle is going on and on and on. How much? I don't understand it. By me being saved, God got in my hand because I'm still standing. Even though I'm going through this stuff here and all what they're doing, the housing authority men coming in there smoking reefer. I come back home, my house smelling nothing but reefer. I don't smoke reefer. I don't drink.
Yes, ma'am. Well,
This
Ms.
is-
Nolly, we have an officer here, and he would love to hear more about the things that you are
And
experiencing.
in front of 231 9th Avenue, they sell drugs. I'm talking about, I can show you the whole unit.
Yes, ma'am.
Nothing but drugs. I told them to put a camera out there on that light up there. Constantly all night long selling drugs. And
Yes,
ain't
ma'am.
nothing been done about it. This folks been doing this a long time. These young boys
Yes, ma'am.
out
Well,
here selling drugs.
Ms. Gwendolyn, we appreciate you letting us know about this, and the folks that can address it are here in the room. So you talk to that gentleman right there, he will make sure that we
And I
address your
want to move.
concerns.
I
Yes,
done put
ma'am.
in for transfer to get away from there.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Ms. Gwendolyn. I want to
Okay.
be respectful to Mr. Moore. He wants to speak to us as well. Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you.
Mr. Moore?
How y'all doing today?
We're doing well.
I want to first say, thank you, Lord, for letting me wake up today. I've been seeing that sign said, people helping people. That's true. It's supposed to be people helping people, especially around here. But they ain't trying to help us. They do one thing, but come to y'all and tell y'all another thing. Just like last year, we put in a work order 7 times last year to get our hot water nozzle fixed to go to the washing machine. Haven't got fixed yet. They supposed to be bringing us air conditioning unit. They haven't brought out here yet. And the air conditioner broke down now. I'm a survivor of 6 strokes. I'm a diabetic. I got a large heart. And every time when I get hot, I get sick. I mean, it's a shame. They want us to sit up there, hurry up and pay, but they don't want to fix things around there. Just like the time when they dug up those pipes out there in the back, over there by Unit 28. They left sidewalk all tore up, grass all tore up, mud and stuff everywhere. Now, like I said, last year, we put in 7 times to get our faucet unit fixed, our hot water, so we can use our water machine. It haven't got fixed yet. It's 2022. Our air conditioning unit, they said they had one for us. We haven't got it yet, and that was last year. Now the air conditioning broke down again. And I'm a stroke patient. And in those apartments, they get really, really hot. They get really, really hot. And when we try to talk to Mrs. Leonard, I remember last year, we had some problems with our air conditioning unit. And yes, we called the main office. I don't know what was going on in the main office, but yes, we called Fox 6 News. And Fox 6 News called her boss. Now her boss called her. And they came out and fixed it. But one of the air conditioning unit specialists said we need a new air conditioning unit. And they said that they had one ordered for us. Now this was, well, a year and a half ago, they had one ordered for us. Now look, it broke down again. And in our apartment, it's very, very hot. I mean, I try to do my part. In the letter, they say people need to clean off the front porch and make back porch. Yeah, that's true enough. That's all well and good. But when they gonna start helping us fix the inside of the apartments? For real. Like I said, they tell us one thing and then go and tell y'all a different thing. And that is wrong. If you want folks to do right and keep their rent up, why don't the ones that work in the office do right and keep the appliance or whatever's up? We got kitchen cabinets falling off. For real. Paint fall off the wall. We'll be asking for much. We've been waiting for that, for our nozzle to get fixed ever since last year. We put in 7 work orders because they say you have to put a work order. So we did that 7 times. Haven't got fixed yet. We haven't got the air conditioning unit. They said that they had got for us. They haven't brought it out yet.
I appreciate that, Mr. Moore. President Foster, this is something that we can address, right?
Yes.
I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Moore. Make sure we have your contact information if we don't already.
Ms. Foster, can we, even if it's not at the next meeting, but can we get some updates on kind of some of the resolutions to these concerns?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes.
so that'll be included in old business for our July board meeting.
Okay.
Thank you. I know we had the sign up sheet. Anybody else that was desiring to speak before the board? Sure. Sure, either way, if you can speak loud enough, I'll repeat it. Okay. Right. So for those on the Zoom, the question was, how often do we cut the grass in Smithfield? You want to go ahead and address that real quick?
Yes, they're on an 8-day cycle. So they should be coming around cutting the grass every 8 days.
Question is, when will we might be painting the doors and rails?
So we will be having discussions about, again, I mentioned in my report that we just received funding, capital funds fundings for those type of improvements. So we'll be coming around the table to identify, what we can do to assist in some of these communities that have those make-ready issues that they're having, so we can address some of those. So the maintenance team will be doing some inspections pretty soon. And so once they do those, we'll come around the table to identify the funding for these communities, and then we'll provide some services at that time. But updates will be provided through your management meetings that you have on a monthly basis.
Thank you. Yes, Ms. Moore? Gotcha. All right. Thank you, Mr. Moore. That's noted. All right. I think that's everybody that wanted to speak before the board. Commissioners, are any other items before we adjourn? All right. Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second that we adjourn the June meeting of the Board of Commissioners. All in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you for everybody for coming out. Thank you for